Welcome back, everybody. We've got something pretty major to dive into today, something that could have a huge impact, especially for seniors and disabled individuals in the U.S. We're talking about a grant program from the Social Security Administration.
That's right.
And get this, it's a massive program, $137 billion.
$137 billion.
Aimed at totally changing how support is given.
It's really a game changer.
And before we get too far into this, if this is something that you're interested in learning more about how this could impact you or someone you know well, make sure you stick it out.
Absolutely. This is something you're going to want to hear.
So this isn't just about, throwing money at the problem, right?
No, you're absolutely right. This is not just a random windfall. This program is a direct response to some very pressing issues that have been building for a long time.
Okay.
Inflation, rising healthcare cost support systems that just aren't meeting the needs of this population.
So it's a very targeted response?
It is. It's very carefully designed. It's a multifaceted approach.
So multifaceted, you're saying?
Yeah, I like to think of it as a support triangle.
Okay, support triangle. I like that. What are the three sides of this support triangle?
Well, one side, you've got direct financial assistance,
Okay.
which impacts Social Security payments. Then you've got healthcare enhancements that go above and beyond what's currently offered through Medicare and Medicaid. And then the third side is a strengthened network of social services to really address the needs that impact overall well-being.
So it's not just about keeping your head above water financially, but it's also about improving quality of life across the board.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that financial security, healthcare, and social support, they're all connected and they're all essential for a good quality of life.
They're all intertwined.
They are, very much so.
Okay, well, let's break down each side of this support triangle, starting with the financial assistance.
Okay.
What kind of changes can people expect to see in their Social Security payments?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because the program isn't just adding a flat increase to everyone's benefits.
Okay.
Instead, they're using a personalized formula that takes into account your location, the cost of living in your area, your existing benefits, and your individual needs.
So someone living in, say, like New York City, a high cost of living area, might see a much bigger increase than someone in a rural area with a lower cost of living.
Exactly. That's a crucial aspect because it acknowledges that the cost of living can vary so dramatically across the country, and a one-size-fits-all approach just wouldn't be fair.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's really trying to make sure that are getting the support they need.
Exactly.
Based on their individual circumstances.
It's all about individualization.
Okay, well, let's move on to the second side of the triangle, healthcare enhancements.
All right.
What specifically is changing in terms of healthcare coverage for seniors and disabled individuals?
Well, this is where I think a lot of people are going to be really excited because the program includes expanded coverage for a number of key areas, starting with comprehensive dental care.
Oh, wow.
And we're not just talking about basic cleanings here. This could mean finally getting those implants you've been putting off or accessing periodontal care that was previously unaffordable.
Wow, that alone could be life-changing for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
What about vision care? Are there any improvements on that front?
Absolutely. The program provides for much more extensive vision coverage than what's currently available. This includes coverage for a wider range of eye exams, lenses, and frames.
Okay.
Going way beyond the basic pair of glasses every few years that many people have just had to make do with.
So this could mean access to things like, better quality lenses, potentially even corrective surgery or treatments for eye conditions that weren't covered before.
That's right. The program recognizes that vision care is just so crucial for maintaining independence and quality of life. And it aims to ensure that seniors and disabled individuals have access to the best possible care.
So before we jump into the third side of the triangle, the social services support, I want to hear from you.
Okay.
What aspect of this program has kind of caught your attention the most so far? Is it the potential increase in Social Security payments, the expanded healthcare benefits, or something else?
Right.
Let us know in the comments, and if you're finding this breakdown helpful, please give this a like. It really helps other people find this information too.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to that third side of our triangle, social services support.
Okay.
This is designed to address a whole range of needs that go beyond just the financial and healthcare assistance.
So give us some specifics. What kind of services are we talking about here?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because it's about recognizing that true well-being encompasses more than just having your basic needs met.
Okay.
The program includes provisions for things like transportation assistance, help with housing, and even potential financial support for family members who are providing care.
Wait, hold on. Financial compensation for caregivers. That's huge.
It is. It's a big deal.
Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. The program recognizes how vital family caregivers are in the lives of seniors and disabled individuals, and it wants to provide them with the support they need.
Okay.
And this can take the form of financial assistance, respite care, even training programs to help them better care for their loved ones.
So not only can family caregivers potentially receive some financial compensation, but they can also access resources and training to help them better care for their loved ones.
That's right. It's about recognizing the often invisible labor of caregiving and providing real tangible support to those who are shouldering this responsibility.
So this really highlights just how comprehensive this program is. It's not just about addressing one or two issues in isolation.
Right.
It's really looking at the bigger picture of what it takes to support seniors and disabled individuals.
Yes, it's a holistic approach.
And to help them live full and independent lives.
Absolutely. It's a significant shift in how we as a society approach the needs of this population.
So before we move on to some of the more logistical details like how and when to apply, I just want to pause for a moment and ask what jumps out at you as the most impactful aspect of this program so far.
Yeah, it's really quite something.
Let's take a closer look at some of the details that could make a real difference in people's lives.
Okay, let's do that.
You mentioned earlier that these increased payments are based on a personalized formula.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a bit on how that formula works and what factors are taken into account?
Sure. So the formula used to calculate the increase in your Social Security payments considers several factors, including your location, as we said, the cost of living in your area, your existing benefits, and your individual needs. This means that the amount of the increase can vary a lot from person to person.
Okay.
And that's really important because it means that this isn't just a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about tailoring the support to each individual's circumstances.
And that's a key difference from some of the programs we've seen in the past.
Yes.
Where it was just kind of a blanket approach.
Right, which really didn't take into account the range of needs that people have.
Now let's talk a bit more about the healthcare enhancements.
Okay.
You mentioned expanded coverage for dental and vision care. Can you give us some specific examples of what this might look like in practice?
Sure. For dental care, this could mean finally being able to afford those dentures you've been needing or getting that root canal that you've been putting off because of the cost.
Yeah.
It could also mean access to preventative care like regular cleanings and checkups, which can help to prevent more serious dental problems down the road.
So it's not just about treating existing problems.
That's right.
It's about preventing future ones.
Exactly. Prevention is key.
And the same goes for vision care, right?
Absolutely. The expanded coverage could mean access to a wider range of eye exams, lenses, and frames. It could also mean coverage for treatments that were previously not covered, like cataract surgery or LASIK.
So this could lead to improved vision, reduced reliance on glasses or contacts, and even a decreased risk of falls or other accidents due to poor eyesight.
Exactly. All of those things are possible with these expanded benefits.
It's really remarkable to see such a comprehensive approach
It is.
to addressing the needs of this population.
I think it's a real game changer.
And I think it's important to remember that this program is still evolving.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of information still coming out, and we'll certainly keep you updated as we learn more.
We'll be sure to do that. Stay tuned.
So stay tuned for future updates on this program.
You know, before we go too deep into some of the details of this program, I want to touch on something that I think is often overlooked in these discussions.
Okay.
And that's the impact on families.
Yeah, the impact on families. We haven't really talked about that yet. How do these changes affect not just the individuals receiving the benefits, but also their families?
Well, it's important to remember that a lot of seniors and disabled individuals rely on family members for care and support. And these grants have the potential to significantly impact those family caregivers.
So it's not just about, improving the life of the individual,
Right.
but also strengthening that entire support system around them.
Exactly. And that's where these provisions for caregiver support come in.
Okay.
The program recognizes the really crucial role that family caregivers play, and it's designed to provide them with the resources and assistance they need.
So can you give us some specific examples of what this caregiver support might look like?
Sure. So it can include financial assistance
Okay.
to help offset some of the costs of caregiving. You mentioned that earlier. It can also include access to respite care,
Okay.
which gives caregivers a much needed break from their responsibilities.
That makes a lot of sense. Caregiving can be incredibly demanding,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally.
Right.
So having access to respite care could make a world of difference for those caregivers.
Absolutely. It can help prevent burnout and make sure that they can continue to provide high-quality care.
Yeah, and it allows them to kind of recharge and take care of themselves as well.
Exactly. Self-care is so important for caregivers.
Now, are there any other types of support available for caregivers?
Yes, there are. The program also includes provisions for training programs
Okay.
to help caregivers develop the skills and knowledge they need to provide the best possible care for their loved ones.
So it's not just about providing the care, but making sure they have the tools and resources
Right.
to do it effectively and sustainably.
Exactly. And, by supporting the caregivers, the program also indirectly benefits the seniors and disabled individuals themselves.
Oh, that's a great point.
Right. It's like a ripple effect of positive impact.
So this program is really taking kind of a holistic approach.
It is.
It's not just about, the individual or the family, but really recognizing how those pieces fit together
It's not the whole ecosystem of support.
and how they impact each other.
Exactly. And I think it points to a larger shift in how we as a society think about aging and disability.
Okay, how so?
Well, we're moving away from a model that just focuses on basic needs
Okay.
to one that emphasizes dignity, independence, and overall quality of life.
That's a really powerful shift.
It is, and I think it's exciting to see these changes happening.
So speaking of those broader implications,
Yeah.
what kind of long-term effects do you see this program having on how we support seniors and disabled individuals in the future?
And I think these grants are really just the beginning. They represent a growing recognition that investing in the well-being of these populations is not only the right thing to do, but it's also a smart economic strategy.
Okay.
When seniors and disabled individuals strive, our communities and our economy benefit as well.
That's a great point. So it's not just about, charity or social responsibility.
Right.
It's Mark investing in the strength and resilience of our society as a whole.
Exactly. And I think as these programs continue to evolve and expand, we'll see a growing awareness of the value and the contributions of seniors and disabled individuals.
Absolutely.
And this could lead to greater inclusion, better accessibility, and ultimately a more equitable and just society for everyone.
That's a really inspiring vision.
It is. It's something to strive for.
Now, I imagine that some of our listeners might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all of this information.
A lot to take in.
It is. We've covered a lot. We've talked about the support triangle, the application process, maximizing benefits, the impact on families,
Right.
even some of the potential challenges.
It can be a lot.
So for someone who's feeling a little bit overwhelmed, where would you suggest they start?
Well, I think the first step is to really identify your priorities
Okay.
and areas of greatest need. What are you most concerned about? Are you worried about increasing your monthly income?
Yeah.
Are you struggling with healthcare costs? Are you a caregiver who needs support? Once you figure out what your biggest concerns are, then you can focus your energy on finding the resources and information that will be most helpful to you.
So it's about breaking it down into manageable pieces
Exactly.
and taking it one step at a time.
That's the key.
Now, speaking of helpful information, we want to hear from you. What aspect of this program are you most interested in learning more about? What questions do you have?
Yes, let us know.
Let us know in the comments, and we'll do our best to address those in future episodes.
We will. And if you're finding this breakdown helpful, don't forget to give us it helps other people find this information too.
Absolutely. The more people we can reach with this information, the better. Now, we've talked about a lot of the potential benefits of this program, but we haven't really talked about some of the potential challenges or concerns. Are there any downsides or risks that people should be aware of?
That's a great question, and it's important to acknowledge that no program is perfect.
Right.
One potential concern is just the complexity of the system.
Okay.
Navigating all the different programs and benefits can be confusing, especially for people who aren't tech savvy or who have limited access to resources.
So there's a risk that some people who are eligible for these benefits might miss out simply because they don't know how to access them.
Exactly. That's a valid concern, and it highlights how important outreach, education, and support services are in making sure everyone who's eligible can get the benefits they deserve.
So it's not enough to just have the program in place.
Right.
We need to make sure that people know about it.
Exactly. We need to make sure that people can actually access it.
And that they have the support they need to navigate the system.
Absolutely. Awareness and access are crucial.
Are there any other potential challenges or downsides that people should be aware of?
Well, another concern is always the potential for fraud or abuse. With any program that involves this much money, there's always a risk of people trying to take advantage of the system.
That's true. So what steps are being taken to prevent that?
Well, the Social Security Administration has a number of safeguards in place to prevent fraud and abuse,
Okay.
including, rigorous verification processes and monitoring systems. They're also working closely with law enforcement to investigate and prosecute any cases of fraud.
So they're really taking this seriously.
They are. It's important to make sure that these funds are actually going to the people who need them.
Exactly. And not being siphoned off by people who are trying to game the system.
Right. And it's important for everyone to be vigilant and report any suspected cases of fraud to the authorities.
Now, we've talked a lot about the potential challenges and concerns.
We have.
But I want to end this part of our conversation on a more positive note.
Okay.
What are some of the success stories you've heard? Are there examples of how this program is already making a difference in people's lives?
Yes, absolutely. I've heard some really heartwarming stories about how this program is already having a positive impact.
Oh, that's great.
For example, I spoke with a senior who was finally able to afford much-needed dental work thanks to the expanded coverage.
Oh, wow.
She had been putting off getting dentures for years because of the cost, and she told me it has completely transformed her life. She can now eat comfortably, smile with confidence, and participate in social activities without feeling self-conscious.
That's wonderful. It's amazing how something like that can have such a huge impact on someone's life.
It really can, and it's not just about physical health, it's about mental and emotional well-being too.
Absolutely.
I also spoke with a family caregiver who was really struggling to balance her caregiving responsibilities with her job. She was feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and worried about the financial strain of caring for her aging mother.
It's a lot to handle.
It is, and thanks to the caregiver's support in this program, she was able to access respite care and financial assistance.
Oh, that's great.
Which allowed her to take some time for herself and reduce her stress levels.
So important.
It's so important for caregivers to prioritize their own well-being as well.
It's really inspiring to hear how these benefits are helping people not only survive, but to thrive.
Absolutely. And these are just a couple of examples of the many success stories that are emerging.
I'm sure there are many more out there.
Oh, I have no doubt. And I'm confident that we'll continue to hear more and more inspiring stories as the program rolls out.
Well, before we wrap up this part of our discussion, I just want to touch on one final point that I think is really important.
Okay.
And that is that this program is about so much more than just money or benefits.
It is.
It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of seniors and disabled individuals.
Absolutely. It's about creating a society where everyone, regardless of age or ability, has the opportunity to live a full and meaningful life.
That's beautifully said. And it's a message that I hope resonates with everyone listening.
Me too.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our discussion, but we're not done yet. Stay tuned because in our next segment, we're going to dive even deeper into some specific aspects of this program and share some tips on how to maximize your benefits.
That's right. We'll be right back after a short break.
All right, so we're back and ready to kind of wrap up our deep dive into this really groundbreaking program.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of information.
We have.
From that support triangle framework to the application process, the impact on families, and even some of the potential challenges.
It's been a lot to digest, but really important information.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners who are, ready to take action, what are the key takeaways that they should keep in mind?
I think the most important thing is to remember that knowledge is power. The more you understand about this program, the better prepared you'll be to access the benefits that you deserve.
So step one, educate yourself.
Yes.
What's next?
Don't wait. Take action. Even if you're not sure if you're eligible or you're feeling overwhelmed by the process, just start gathering your documents. Start exploring the online application portal.
So that sense of urgency is really key, especially with those first direct deposits set to start going out February 17th.
Exactly. And remember, even if you miss that initial deadline, there are provisions for retroactive payments in certain situations. But the sooner you act, the better.
Now, for those who might be feeling a little lost or overwhelmed by the complexities of the program, what resources are available to help them kind of navigate this process?
Well, there are a number of organizations dedicated to helping seniors and disabled individuals access the support they need. Your local area agency on aging is a great place to start. They can provide guidance on a whole range of issues, from navigating the application process to finding local support services.
So you don't have to go through this alone?
No, not at all.
There are people and resources to help.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of your own network. Talk to family, friends, neighbors who may have experience with these programs. They can often offer valuable insights and support.
Yeah, sometimes just talking to someone who's been through it can make all the difference.
It really can.
Now, before we wrap up completely, I want to circle back to something you said earlier about these grants representing a societal shift.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think these grants are a powerful symbol of our commitment to supporting seniors and disabled individuals, not just as recipients of aid, but as valued members of our communities.
It's about recognizing their inherent worth and dignity.
Exactly, regardless of their age or ability.
So as this program evolves, what kind of long-term impact do you think it could have?
Well, I think it has the potential to really spark some positive change. We could see things like improved accessibility, more inclusive policies, and just a greater understanding of the contributions that seniors and disabled individuals make to our society.
It's a really exciting prospect.
It is. It's something to be hopeful about.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this discussion, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Don't let fear or uncertainty or the complexity of the system hold you back from exploring these opportunities.
This program represents a significant investment in the well-being of seniors and disabled individuals, and it's a chance to claim the support you deserve and to create a better future for yourself and your loved ones.
Take charge of your future, gather your information, and take that first step. You won't regret it.
And if you found this breakdown helpful, please share it with anyone who might benefit. Let's spread the word and help empower as many people as possible.
We'll continue to follow this story closely and provide updates as new information becomes available. So stay informed, stay engaged, and stay empowered.
Thank you for joining us.
And that's it for today's show. Be sure to check back for future episodes where we'll continue to explore important topics and provide you with the information you need to navigate the complexities of well-being in today's world.